Hey everyone! August is over. That means fall is finally here, and I'm a happy camper because I am not a summer person. I do not like the heat very much. I much prefer this weather where I can wear a sweater. So let's talk about all the books that I read in the month of August. So I will start with a few stats because I actually had a really good month in August. I had a surprisingly good month compared to how my previous ones have gone. So I'll put the graphic up on the screen here, but I read 9 books, which equaled 2,973 pages. And if I had calculated it beforehand, I would have forced myself to read an extra, what would that be, 27 pages in order to have hit my 3,000 page goal. But my overall average for the year is still looking good. I ended up DNFing 2 books, which I'll tell you about in a minute. My average rating for the month was 4 stars. And I didn't have any rereads, but I read 8 new authors. So 8 of the 9 books were new authors. For the other stats, 8 of the books were novels and 1 was a nonfiction. I took 6 out from the library and I owned 3 of them. So that's pretty standard for how it's been going the last few months. Series reads. I didn't continue any series, which was one of my goals for this year, is to continue and finish series, but I did only read 1 series book and start 1 new series. So it's a little better than previous months where I've been starting more new series than I mean to. My age range, 8 were adult and 1 ended up being a middle grade. And for the format, all of them were physical books this month. Genre-wise, I can only tell you 1 genre that was ahead of the others, and that's that I read 2 horrors, which is kind of strange for me. But I did read 2 horrors. And then this month was just a spread of genres, as I had an adventure, a fantasy, a historical fiction, a mystery, a sci-fi, and a magical realism. So it was kind of a spread out month that way. I did also have, not including the DNFs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had 8 partial reads as well, which added up to, including with the DNFs, 575 of the pages that I read for the whole month. So I had a lot of stuff in progress and not a lot that I had finished yet. Hi, Mokies. Come here. Come here, Mokers. You want to come help? So this time I'm going to tell you about the books in the order in which I finished them, because there are several on here that I'm not going to be able to tell you my ratings or really my thoughts on, because they are for vlogs that I haven't put out yet. So we will, what are you trying to do, you goof? So we will just do them in the order in which I read them. And if I can, I'll tell you more about them. If I can't, you'll have to just wait for that vlog. So the first one that I finished this month was The Martian by Andy Weir. And this was actually my only 5-star of the month that I can tell you about. And I absolutely loved this book. In this one, you're following Mark Watney. He is an astronaut and has been on a mission to Mars. Then when the story opens, you discover that he wakes up and he is alone on Mars. And he remembers some... Hello? Do you want to come up now, Yoongi? Come here. There. You purring? You purring? Purr, purr. He remembers that there was a huge sandstorm and they were trying to make their way to the ship because they were going to leave. They were boarding the mission. And all he really remembers is him getting hit with something. And he wakes up and the rest of the crew is gone. So now he has to try and survive on Mars by himself, well, unable to communicate with Earth or with the ship or anything. I loved this book. It was so good. Mark Watney's character was just like my favorite part of it. He was so funny. His voice was so strong, so funny. Even though really serious things were happening in the book, he just had such a sense of humor, and the adventure was so kind of wild and crazy. He had to deal with all kinds of things like trying to figure out a way to communicate with Earth and everything. And it just, I just, overall, I absolutely love this book. I know it's probably going to be on my top books of the year. I want to reread it. It was so much fun and such a good book, so well written. So I'm really looking forward to reading his other books as well. Then I came across one of the ones that I DNF'd, and that is The Compound by Aisling Raleigh. I DNF'd this one about, I want to say maybe a couple chapters in. Nothing against the book. It just, the premise was not something that I was very interested in. I was reading it for a book club, so I ended up DNFing. You're following Lily, who's a 20-something who wakes up on a remote desert compound with 19 other contestants on a popular reality TV show, and then things kind of go crazy from there. I think it's kind of a thriller, mystery thriller sort of thing. But I didn't like the characters to begin with. It's kind of almost like that Big Brother sort of reality show. I have zero interest in, so that's why I ended up DNFing that one. I also finished this month Where the Wagon Led by R.D. Simons. This one I gave 3.5 stars to, and you will have seen my thoughts in the Battle of the Book Jar vlog that I posted this past month. This one was a nonfiction memoir. You were following the main character, R.D. Simons, who came over from England to Canada in the early 1900s to become a rancher. You're hearing his stories as he learns how to be a rancher on the open range that was there back then. Overall, I really enjoyed it. The first half I kind of enjoyed the most because that was when he was a green hand and learning everything. So I found that quite fun. And then the second half I thought was a little bit more choppy. I didn't like it quite as much. Some of the terminology was obviously out of date, in particular in reference to certain ethnic groups. But what he did say, even though he used older language, he spoke with a lot of respect for the First Nations people and the Métis people. So that was good to read. And yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars, and you can check out that other vlog if you'd like to see a more detailed description of what I read. Then, okay, now we're to the first one that I can't tell you too much about. I read Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. I am not going to tell you what I rated that one. You're following this guy who is basically one of the world's worst human beings. He's a lawyer and he's very nasty, but he dies one day and he gets taken by a reaper to this small tea shop where there is a guy there who's called a ferryman who can help him cross over. And from there, you're following his story as he's trying to come to grips with his death and with how he lived his life and everything. And all I'll tell you is that it was a touching story with good characters, but very heavy topics. So that's all I'm going to tell you about it. You can catch that vlog when it comes out in September here. Then we got to my other DNF, and that was, I can't even find it now. I don't know where I put it. I might have thrown it across the room. And that was The Ghost Stories of Edith Wharton. This was the short story collection that I had been attempting to read for the last 3 months. I actually did get 158 pages into the 320 pages. I read 5 of the 6 stories in it, and I finally had to DNF it because it was the book of the most boring short stories I have ever read in my entire life. I read 5 of the 11 stories, and only one of them I thought was decent. There was nothing really even creepy or scary about any of the stories. And overall, she had kind of like this style where she'd be writing this story and you're kind of like following it along and following these characters and stuff. And then she'd get to the end and she'd have like this one-liner at the end that was supposed to make everything make sense. And it made absolutely nothing make sense. And I was like, I mean, I'm a fairly intelligent reader, and I read a lot of books, but I did not get the point of any of those stories. It was absolutely ridiculously boring. And so after 5 of them, I knew I was going to throw the book against the wall if I didn't stop. So I went ahead and DNF'd. So that was that one. Another book that I read and really enjoyed, though, was Murder Past Due by Miranda James. This is a cozy mystery, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this one. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the series. It's about this guy named Charlie Harris, who is a librarian in a small town in Mississippi. He has this huge Maine Coon cat named Diesel, who he walks around town on a leash, and he goes into all the stores and everything. And he's a big character in the story. Charlie ends up getting involved in this case because there's a former classmate of his who comes back. He's a famous mystery writer now. He writes gory thrillers. And he comes back for a special ceremony at the college that they both went to. But he is a guy that nobody in town liked. And by supper that night, he is found dead. So Charlie gets involved with trying to solve the murder. And overall, it was just exactly what I want from a cozy mystery. There was lots of interesting mystery moments, and you're following the mystery along with trying to solve it. There's lots of cute cat moments. The guy who was murdered wasn't somebody you liked anyway, so you didn't feel any bad feelings about that. Everything I want in a cozy. So I'm really looking forward to reading more in this series. I want to buy them as well. That was such a fun read and exactly what I wanted at the time. Then I finished another one I can't tell you much about, and that is Under the Glacier by Haldor Laxness. It is translated from Icelandic. It's the first time I've read an Icelandic translation, and they call it essentially Scandinavian magical surrealism, I guess is kind of the genre. So that was kind of the magical realism book that I read. You're following this young man who is the ambassador for the bishop of Iceland, and he gets sent out to this town of Glacier, which has a rather long Icelandic name as well, but they call it Glacier. He is supposed to go and check up on Pastor John, who runs the parish there, because there's all kinds of rumors about him not burying the dead, about the church being closed up, all these sorts of things. So this ambassador for the bishop goes there and gets involved in talking to the community and everything. And it had a lot of humor in it, but that's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you much more about it, other than that, again, it was magical realism. So then I finished From the Extra Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsberg. This one was the middle grade that I read. And all I'll tell you is that you're following these 2 children who decide to run away from home, but they live on the outskirts of New York City. So they run away into New York City and end up camping out at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So that was that one that I read. Then I finished The Whistling by Rebecca Netley, which is for my library vlog. So I'm not going to tell you a lot about that one either. But it was a very, very creepy story. You're following this woman named Elspeth, who goes to this remote Scottish island to become the nanny for a small girl. She's, I think, 11. And her mother died, then her previous nanny left, and then her twin brother died. And she has not spoken a word since her brother died. So you're following Elspeth as she is trying to communicate with this young girl. And then really spooky, creepy things start happening in the house as well. So it was quite gothic and suspenseful. But I won't tell you my rating until you watch the library vlog that should be coming out this month as well. Next, I finished. Put my pen in here so I mark my spot. I finished The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This one follows Cora, who is a slave on a plantation in, I think, Georgia. She decides to run away with another slave named Caesar. They head out on the Underground Railroad, and this one has some magical realism elements in it as well. I put it as historical fiction for my for my genre purposes, but it has magical realism elements in it too, because in this story, Colson Whitehead has created the Underground Railroad as an actual railroad. So that was a really interesting aspect of it. It was very well written, and I will tell you more about that when you get to my alphabet vlog. Then the final book that I finished in August, which I am very excited to say that I finally got done, is The Behemoth That Is the Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. I had started reading this one in July for Summerween for the horror novel. And I got a ways into it, but I had a lot left to go because it is a very, very long book, 642 pages in this version. And when I finished it this month, I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. You're following a few different timelines. Your main character who's telling the story is a woman who has become a historian, and she's looking back on her past. So one major part of the story takes place when she is a young girl. She is traveling with her father, and she comes across some letters that he has in his study and an old book. And the letters are addressed to my unfortunate successor. So she's very curious about them. So she finally gets her father to talk about them. So he starts telling her the story of his mentor, who was named Bartholomew Rossi, and the disappearance of Rossi. So you get she's reading letters and things from her father. So you get that whole story going on in the background. And then you have her current story because her father has now gone missing. So she starts hunting for him to try and see what has happened to her father. It also involves vampires and was a really, really engaging read. There was lots of intrigue, lots of atmosphere to it. I really enjoyed the climax scene especially. I did find the book quite slow in places, which is why it didn't get a full 5 stars from me. But overall, it was a very good read. I would definitely read this again and read other things from this author. The vibes were absolutely immaculate in this story, and I loved the academic part of it and all the research and everything that they were doing. That really, I really enjoyed that, and I would highly recommend that one. So that got 4.5 stars. So I know I didn't tell you a lot about the books that I read this month, but that is the ones that I read. I do have lots of vlogs upcoming here. The alphabet vlog is coming out hopefully in September here. I just have to finish editing. I have to finish editing the library vlog as well. And I have a Battle of the Book Jar that I'm working on. We're actually going on another library crawl here actually tomorrow. So I'm going to be starting another library vlog as well as I'm editing the previous one. And I have lots of fun stuff coming up. I just posted my TBR game for the month of September, so I hope you guys will check that out. And let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Give me a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys soon on my next video, which will hopefully be coming out on Wednesday. I'm going to try and do Wednesdays and Sundays now, so we'll see how that goes. So I will see you guys soon. Bye.